Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Gardener. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling. It's August 12th. If you're looking to grow an onion that won't make you cry or give you bad breath, sweet onions are your thing. If you buy them in the store, they're usually more expensive than the regular ones. Sweet onions are sweet because the sugar and water content are higher. That's the upside. The downside is that they won't store as long as regular onions. Vidalia onions were the first sweet onions to be sold across the United States. They were grown primarily in Georgia, Vidalia, Georgia to be exact. Today, we have other options, including Walla Walla sweet onions from Washington, Maui sweet onions from Hawaii, and spring sweets from Texas. Sweet onions can be traced back to seeds brought over from the Canary Islands in 1898. Here's today's brevities. It's the birthday of Thomas Andrew Knight, who was born in England on this day in 1759. Knight served as the second president of the Royal Horticultural Society, and he assumed the position at the urging of his friend, Joseph Banks. Knight's inclination was always to turn inward. Banks helped him overcome that. He also encouraged Knight to begin reading scientific papers published by outside authors. Otherwise, Knight was purposefully shutting himself off from outside influences. During his life, Knight had inherited 10,000 acres of land, and he used the land to conduct all kinds of experiments on plants like strawberries, cabbages, and peas. And he was a born pragmatist. His breeding efforts were always designed to help make better plants in order to feed the masses. And it's the anniversary of the death of Sir William Jackson Hooker, who died on this day in 1865. Hooker was both a botanist and a botanical illustrator. Like Knight, Hooker enjoyed the friendship of Joseph Banks. He was wealthy. He didn't need a patron to fund his expeditions, and his first expedition was to Iceland in the summer of 1809. This was another one of Banks' ideas, and Hooker went there to collect, as well as to make trials of everything he discovered. Unfortunately, on his way home, there was a terrible fire. Most people don't realize it, but Hooker nearly died. All of his work was destroyed in the fire, but Hooker was able to reconstruct his discoveries and actually publish an account called Tour in Iceland. Turned out, Hooker's mind was a steel trap. Hooker was known worldwide for an unsurpassed herbarium. By 1841, he was appointed the director of the Royal Botanic Garden, Kew. Hooker brought Kew to greatness, expanding the gardens from 10 to 75 acres and adding a 270-acre arboretum. In 1865, there was a throat infection going around Kew. Hooker contracted it and died. His son, Joseph Dalton Hooker, an outstanding botanist in his own right, succeeded him at Kew. Today, in 1930, a United States patent was issued to Clarence Birdsey for his method of packaging frozen foods. One of Birdsey's first jobs was as a field naturalist for the USDA. The job led him to Labrador in Canada on a fur trading expedition. During his time there, Birdsey observed that the Eskimos froze their food because finding fresh food during the winter was next to impossible. Birdsey became fascinated by their quick freezing process, which cleverly used the elements of wind, ice, and super cold temperatures. Birdsey noticed when the fish was frozen quickly, it tasted amazing. Birdsey immediately wondered wondered if the same process could be used with fresh vegetables. 5 years later, when he returned to the United States, he invented the quick freeze machine and he started his own frozen food company. 5 years after that, he sold his business to Frosted Foods for $22 million. The year was 1929. In Unearthed Words, here's a verse from Ray Bradbury's Dandelion Wine. One day you discover you are alive. Explosion, concussion, illumination, delight. You laugh, you dance around, you shout. But not long after, the sun goes out, snow falls, but no one sees it on an August noon. Today's book recommendation is The New Healing Herbs by Michael Castleman. This book features 135 of the most widely used medicinal herbs. There is a very helpful cure finder that shares treatments for more than 100 common conditions. For example, cinnamon to treat cuts and scrapes, and St. John's wort to speed healing. For each herb, there are drawings, the history of the herb, plus instructions for growing it in your garden. For today's garden chore, start seeds for your fall crops. Your fall crops can include another round of quick maturing edibles for the fall harvest. Try to get your seeds in before the 15th. That's in 3 more days. And if you're wondering what to plant, think about leafy greens. Plants like spinach, lettuce, or even beets are great because they can be grown for their leaves. And the same is true for plants like radish or green onion. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. On this day in 1806, Thomas Jefferson's 24 double tuberoses, Polyanthes tuberosa, were blooming. Jefferson had obtained them from Bernard McMahon's nursery, and he wrote to McMahon requesting more of them. McMahon had created a gardener's calendar, which included a list of seeds, including month-by-month instructions. The calendar was so foundational to Thomas Jefferson's gardening practice that McMahon became his garden mentor. The two exchanged regular letters about gardening, and it was Jefferson who selected McMahon to cultivate the specimens collected by Lewis and Clark, which he happily did. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced weekdays in lovely Maple Grove, Minnesota. You can find complete show notes over at thedailygardener.org, and be sure to share the show with your garden friends. You can find The Daily Gardener on all your favorite social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest, and of course, Facebook. While you're over at Facebook, don't forget to join the Daily Gardener community. Just search for these 3 words, Daily Gardener Community. The group will pop right up and then request to join. Finally, I want to thank my team at Podfly Productions, where my fabulous editor is Eric Begay. Have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.